Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Vet Talk with Hill. As you know, this is a show we created to sit down with military veterans to talk about their lives before the military, during the military, and after the military. I'm your host, Hill Pluvius, United States Marine Corps veteran, and today I have with me Navy veteran J. Alexander Martin. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good.
Welcome to the show.
I'm good.
Man.
Like, hoorah, right? How do you do it?
Hoorah. What do you guys say?
Huh?
What do you guys say? Who?
No, we just say seaman, but we used to, we were like your carry. We used to carry y'all around all the time.
Yeah,
stuff, right?
you guys used to take us where we need to go.
Yeah.
What did they call you guys?
Uber.
Navy, I didn't say it. Did not come for me. Go for him. He's the seaman. How you doing,
Good,
man?
Good.
Where did the name J. Alexander come from?
Well, so for instance, now basically J is a play off of words of my father's father's name was John. He had a friend they both in the service, and they used to call him J, but because for short. That's how New Yorkers are. Yeah. Everything's for short, So she called him J. I was adopted. My name was Alexander Jewett, and then so he took the last name off. Took his last name, and they said, "Well, you want to add a name? I want we add a name and call him J." So we just don't have Alexander, so it became J. Period, not J-A-Y. J. Period. Alexander Martin.
Yeah, I like Alexander. I like the Martin. I like because it all sounds like first names. Mm-hmm. Alexander, like
right,
the
right.
great.
Trust
so
me.
You hear Alexander automatically.
So I'm not five. I'm kind of old now. That what's it called? What's that thing comes in the mail?
Census.
Not the census. The form.
Yellow book.
No.
Yellow pages?
Well, I remember the yellow pages too. But the thing that comes for, what do you call it? Benefits. After you get 50, they send you this stuff in the mail.
Oh, yeah,
that's not for me.
Package,
that's not for me. That's for somebody else. But, for me, it's just a long, long time ago. Let's just leave it at that.
So you were adopted, and where did this happen? Here in New York? In Queens?
Yes. I was adopted by a family in Queens. And yes, and they, took me in, which is a beautiful thing because, when you're adopted, you really, your mind, everything's different for you, because, you almost kind of feel like your real parents, supposedly, I'm gonna call them real parents per se, but they either didn't have the money or didn't want to. And you always battling with that question. Either you didn't have the money or you didn't have the will withal, or you didn't have the, whatever it was, whatever circumstance it was where you wanted to give me a better life, or you just didn't give, excuse my French.
Yeah.
And you always, like I said again, you're always battling with that. I don't know which one it was. But then when someone comes in and says, listen, I'll give you all the love you need and I'll do that, it's just something that you can't even, put a value to.
Wow. And what age was this?
I must have been about six, 7.
So you remember
6.
A lot of it?
No.
You didn't
I blocked a lot of it out.
You blocked it out because you didn't want to remember?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
How is your biological parents, would you say?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. Know nothing about them.
And where in Queens?
Hollis, Queens.
Hollis, Queens. Where in Hollis? Where in Hollis?
Queens.
What part?
Actually, off Farmers Boulevard.
Farmers
between Farmers and Hollis.
Yeah, that's right by Woodhall, right under.
Right by Woodhall. Literally a little bit further up between. There was a apartment building used to call the Castle.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's between the Castle. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah. Between the Castle and Farmers. So I live like right in between there. So back as a youngster, I would claim I'm from Hollis or I claim I'm from Farmers. Either way, I was.
Same here.
Right.
Same
I would partition it, go either way. And I would know everybody because that way,
Yeah. I grew up around the same area. So I'm from St. Albans where you have.
Now, for instance, St. Albans wasn't actually called St. Albans before, right? Didn't as of maybe like 15 years, 20 years ago?
No.
They just started calling it St. Albans? Because wasn't this Hollis?
No, Hollis is morphed on the Jamaica
No, they used to call it Jamaica.
Yeah,
Jamaica
Queens.
The whole thing Jamaica Queens.
Yeah.
But then
then you got Hollis, you got St. Albans.
But they call them St. Albans is just St. Albans.
Yeah.
That little area.
Yeah, St. Albans is probably, I would say, it's in between Hollis, Cambria Heights, and you have Laurelton on the other side, and Rochdale.
But now they blanket it, I think, because when you do for mail, you have to put St. Albans to go there.
Yeah.
And before you had to put Jamaica.
Yeah. That's what we used
times
to do.
changed. Maybe that's the census for you.
Yeah. And growing up around there, a lot of celebrities came from where your side.
Yes.
You have
LL,
you name them.
Run DMC. There's quite a few rappers, but the biggest ones: LL, Run DMC, us. Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess we'll talk about us. Right.
And you had Ja Rule is from
Ja
right
Rule.
there, yeah.
Oh, I forgot Ja Rule. Like tons of rappers, tons of singers, tons of, but now more businessmen.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Like yourself.
Yeah.
And so you joined the military at what age?
I joined at 18.
At 18, right after high school. Where did you
Right
go to
after high school. I went to Bayside High School.
Bayside. Yeah. I know where Bayside is. So you why the Navy?
Well, you know what's funny? I wanted to go in the Air Force like my father, because you wouldn't go to, not that I was, didn't really. I just heard that the Air Force was just better. Better barracks, better food, better everything. Better uniforms. I liked, I was in fashion. I loved the uniform because it was just like cool. You had some nice slacks, such and such. I didn't necessarily want to wear the bell bottoms and all that because, sometimes bell bottoms are in, sometimes bell bottoms are out.
Navy, please don't come after
and
me.
then again,
He said it.
then I don't know if I was hard enough for the Marines or the Army. And then the Army, I was like, why those men? I'm not gonna, no disrespect. I'm not gonna go there. But the Army, I ain't want the Army either. So I passed the test for the Navy, and I passed the test for the Army and the Marines. But they wanted me to redo the test. But I was like, I'll forget it. I'll just go with the Navy.
Nice.
And I had an uncle that was in the Navy at the same time. So when I got in, I was stationed in San Diego.
Oh, Cali, yeah.
So I got to hang out with my uncle, and we got real close from that. So it was great.
And how many? Walk me through the process, because obviously coming from Queens, from adopted family, an adopted family. Was your family supportive of your decision?
It wasn't a matter of supportive. It was a matter of you're going or you're not staying here in my home.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of Queens, families thought.
Yeah.
It's either you're gonna, go to school, or you're going to go in the military, one of the two. And actually, it was probably the best thing for me. Of course, in hindsight, you don't really think about that. Then you're like, wow, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to do all that. But when you get into the military, and you start shaping you, not necessarily with the rules and regulations, but it starts shaping you because you understand now that the world is bigger than your block.
Yeah.
You start meeting people from different walks of life, from different areas, places that you probably can't even pronounce, places that you've never been or you've read about, and now you start interacting with others and start broadening your mind. You start uplifting, and you start talking, and you're talking to people, and listening to different music, things like that, or going to different countries, and it just, to me, it built me, and it made me something. It formed me into a man, per se. Yeah. You don't have to worry about, where you're going to eat or what you're going to, with money. Now you have money, you have a place to stay and everything. Now you can actually move those things aside and start working on you.
Yeah. And it's funny you said, coming from Queens, the area we just talked about, it's I would say a lot of middle class blacks, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of homeowners.
Yes.
We talked about the castle being the building, but majority of the area is private houses.
Private houses.
And they're black owned. So, coming from an area, it may not be the same way now.
Right.
And coming from an area like that where you have parents who are telling you, hey, you're not staying in my house, you either go to school or because I would assume that they were hoping you can provide for yourself to give to your kid.
Right. And again, that's what the military does. We don't see it that way because we're so young, running around like, well, I still want to be free. And you think if you're going to go in the military, you won't be free. No, it starts to build who you are and what you can be. When you're stuck in a little cocoon or you're stuck in a bubble, you can't bust out that bubble. But when you're in the military, you can kind of, it opens up your eyes up a little bit more to see, wow, I'm here, I'm exploring this, I'm exploring that. And the funny thing about it is when you come home after the first time or you come home off a deployment and you look at your friends that you grew up with, you're like, I don't have anything in common with you anymore.
Yeah, a lot of times they're still doing the same thing that you
You're doing the
left them
same
doing.
thing you're on the same block. I know where to find you.
So you say first duty station was San Diego, but you also told me that you were in Okinawa.
Yes.
Okinawa, Japan.
No. Actually, I did go to Okinawa, Japan. My ship. I was on the Okinawa LPH-3, and I carried Marines.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's what, So do you remember the base that you landed, where you guys got to? I want to say the.
You know, I am so bad when it comes to I know a few countries I went to. I tell you this, if anyone's listening to this, if I tell you I had 2 beer days, they'll get it. It's like, beer days? What's that mean? But who knows what a beer day is, and I had 2 of them.
I asked because I was in Okinawa, and I imagine, because I wouldn't know the bases either, so I was just trying to see if you were, if you remembered. And so how many years did you do in the Navy?
Actually, I did almost like 2.5. I got out on medical discharge.
Okay.
I was in an accident in a cab on base, and it crashed into a pole.
Wow.
Left me halfway paralyzed and temporary. And I'm walking again, of course. I still have back pain, chronic back pain, things like that. I used to have headaches. I don't have that anymore, too tough, but I have a chronic back pain. When it rains, it's a wrap for me. I'm 50% disabled. I go to VA. Been going to the VA since. I probably had the fastest, what do you call it? VA rating in history.
Wow.
I walked in because my status was, when I first got out of the military, they gave me 30%, right? They wanted me to go to, I think it was Scranton, whatever. I can't tell. I don't know. Don't quote me, right? But whatever it is, it's in Connecticut. I remember like it was yesterday. I didn't have the money to go. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know how to get there. Nothing. So I couldn't get there. So they wound up stopping my rating temporarily. Years later, I'm still having all these pains. I'm still messed up. My aunt's husband is in the military. He was in the Army, and he's a veteran. He has, I think he did 40 years, whatever. And my other aunt saw him. So one day they came to me and said, "Well, why don't you go to the VA?" For what? I don't understand. What am I going there for? I said, "Trust me, why don't you go there?" So me and my father, we got up one day, we went there. Because he wanted to see, what he can get, what benefits. Because you can get, trust me, you can get tons of benefits. This guy's just talking. My uncle just talk and talk. And my uncle could talk, telling me a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, whatever. Long story short, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So all 3 of us got in the car, went there. So he sat down. He was doing what he had to do. He said, y'all guys go in that office and so see if, you can get some benefits. So I walk in, my father starts talking to him. He says, they go, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, you got an honor discharge, that's great, but there's nothing I can do for you." I go in, I said, well, listen, I was 30% and I had a problem, and such and such. I'm talking, and this guy's just looking at me, and I'm like, well, why is he looking at me like that? He's looking at the computer, looking at me, looking at the computer, looking at me. Sir, give me 1 second. Goes in the back, talk to some people. They go talk to some people. Some other people come back over. They come back over. Sir, what we're going to do for you right now is we're going to give you 100% benefits on the spot.
Wow.
Right now.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, what did I do? What did I say? So my father looking at me like
you had all
what the heck just happened here? Basically, because they missed all this time, I should have been in the system. Compensated. So they compensated me right off the bat with 100%, so they can, catch up and find out what I really had and whatever, because they knew they were in the wrong. They didn't want me to turn around and sue or go out and say such. Literally, I went in I got it for 100%, right? I went in, did my physical, did whatever I had to do, went to, and again, I'm going back and forth every 2 days, 3 days for medical appointments. I must have got my rating, everything done all in 2.5 months.
Wow.
maybe 3.
Wow. Congrats.
Check in hand, everything. I didn't even get any. I didn't get any back pay because it just started from that day.
Yes,
but I did get back pay, but it started from that day that I walked in. That's when they started the back pay.
Wow. But then they give you, out of the 30 or 50%, they give you 100% to make up for it, for the difference.
Right.
Okay.
Right. No. They gave me 100% walking in the door, and then they after I got my rating, they broke it down. It's only 50% now.
Gotcha.
So now I have 50%.
Now you, from 100%, they go back down to 50%. And obviously you wanted to do more time in the Navy, but the accident caused you to do only 2.5. Why did you even go into the Navy? I know I asked you why the Navy, but why did you go into the military, period?
Well, my logic, so when I went in, I asked the recruiter, I said, well, is there anything in fashion? And he said, no, well, not really, but what you can do is go to school. I was like, oh, okay, great. I'll sign right here. And like everybody, you know, that last day you go and your father brings you to the hotel the day before, and you spend a night in the hotel, and then you go off the next day to wherever your recruiting station is.
And you went out, that was in MEP. You went to Brooklyn as well, right?
No, I was in Queens. It was right off of JFK, I think it was JFK Highway or whatever highway that is.
Inside of JFK.
Yeah,
it's JFK Highway, I believe.
Yeah. So it was a hotel right there.
But I'm saying, where did you do the physical to leave? Wasn't it Fort Hamilton, Brooklyn?
I don't really remember.
Yeah, all right.
I don't remember.
Okay, so you going in for fashion.
Yeah, but I'm thinking I'm going in for fashion. Nothing happens. So my thinking in the military, and I tell this to everyone, and I'm sorry, I'm from New York. I'm not a lifer guy. I want to do my time. I want to do it, you know, and I want to do, you know, I love the experiences. I want to learn. I want to do whatever. So what I would do is I would sign up for everything as far as protocol. I would qualify for anything and everything, even stuff that I didn't even need to qualify for.
Smart. I did the
That's
same
all I
thing.
did. I just kept qualifying. So in turn, when I finally got out and I started looking out on my back, I got rows of medals, ribbons.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like I'm a general or something, you know. But I tell people, you know, if your mind is to get out and you need it to kind of 4 years, 3 years, whatever, because I plan to do 4 years, if anything. And if I couldn't figure out something in that 4 years, I would have done 8. And then, but if I did 8, I probably would have done 20.
Yeah.
Or kept going, because again, if you did 8, you might as well. It's already done. 10 years, you might as well just keep it going.
You so
Because
got
what
a
else you gonna
military
turn around and
mind.
do?
That's the
right?
mind of
that was
every
the,
one
but that's
of
the
us.
mind. But see, the mind, my mind was always pulling me to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My mind, you know, for every right you have, they have a right to take away. So it's good for some people. It just wasn't good for me in the longer run of it. So. But it's something that I think we all should do. We all should, one, serve our country. We all should go in and learn. Because what I loved about the military is paying attention to detail. That term, paying attention to detail, I always keep that with me, because that becomes who I am.
You know what blows my mind just now you're saying this?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to watch you on TV. Commercial. You remember the commercial, you guys? Hello,
Yeah,
hello,
yeah.
FUBU. That's how I remember you. And remember the music video, Fatty Girl,
Yeah.
Fatty Girl. So I grew up watching that. Now I'm talking to you and you're telling me about military things. I'm like, huh? Is this like the same person?
Because
crazy.
Because paying attention to detail is, I call myself nosy. I'm more of a creative director. What I do is I look at everything. And what made me that, or what made me open to seeing more or seeing better or seeing what everybody else is doing, or being able to take something from one group of people, from another group of people, and putting it all together, the whole for us, by us concept, that was made through the military. Because me going into the military, I was able to go to different countries and see how other people lived.
Now
I would go to different countries and see fashion. I would not just see what they live, interact with them. And that broadened my mind, and that made me know that there's, like I said again, there's something bigger than my block, there's something bigger than me. And I was able to absorb all that to be able to come back home and create what we will talk about a little later.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that as well, because after the military, you think, for me, it was I can do anything after the military, because, I joined them what they call the hardest branch, which is the Marines.
You telling me.
So I said, this is what I want to do. Went in there and I kicked butt. I graduated top of, how in boot camp, they pick 4 people, like the leaders and tougher guys. Not that I was a crazy tough guy, but I was one of the 4 out of 100 to get meritoriously promoted in boot camp. And then my whole time in the military, I did well. So that kind of like give me that confidence, that boost I needed for my confidence. And hearing you talk about it now, I never put it in those words, but hearing you say it, I can relate. I see why what you're saying is so true. Because now I feel like nothing is impossible. I feel like I can, simply because I got to see how other people did it. I got to see where other people succeeded, where other people failed, and how the rest of the world does it.
And then funny thing about it too, it puts things, when you're in the military, because you have a hierarchy and a chain of command, it makes you put things in order. Like, okay, you were able to compartmentalize things. You put this in slot. Okay, this is what we're going to do today. This is how we're going to do it. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. And you'll be able to lead other people and not necessarily just follow, but lead and follow at the same time. That way you become a more of an effective leader, because that people that you're leading want to follow you because they feel like you're something that they are. Not just you're sitting there saying, look, do this, do this, do this, and you're not going to do it. They know you're going to get down in the trenches too.
Yeah.
Because that military officer is not sitting there talking about, okay, well, all right, y'all go ahead. Y'all go ahead. He out there with you.
And those are the guys who are respected.
Yes.
The guys that, for us in the Marines, like let's say a person comes in enlisted and you go officer, a lot of times they call him a Mustang simply because they say he's been where we are and now he's an officer to lead. And not to say those who come in as officers don't get the same respect, because in the Marine Corps, a lot of the officers I see that I was around, they'll get out and do the same thing with us. Like it's no problem for them to take off, walk out the office and say, hey, what are we doing today? How can we get it done more effectively? So when you talk about leadership, those are still things that I think a lot of us can apply to ourselves in the civilian world.
Right, yes.
In the Air Force, and you told me that you got an RM3 or rank. I don't know anything about.
Yeah, so I'm RM3, radioman. I don't think they have that rate anymore. I think it's something else. So I got out at an RM3. I was in Desert Storm. It was Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I got out, and then I got flown from there back to San Diego. From San Diego, I went to, no, wrong. I'm sorry. I flew from my ship because my date to be off the ship was during the war. So after half of it was done, I got out. They flew me to Bahrain.
Bahrain, yes.
So I was in Bahrain for about 2 weeks, waiting for aircraft, one of those big, gigantic
carriers.
Not aircraft carrier, I'm sorry. One of those big 847 or 1,047, the big planes that carry all the cargo.
Yeah.
So I got on one of those, went all the way back to, I believe it was San Diego. Then from San Diego, I flew to my next duty station, which was in New York, Staten Island. I was like, yes.
How do you get New York, brother?
Yes.
This is who gets New York?
Thank God. I was like, I am home. I get to do my next 1.5 years. And I was on a CG-60. Yeah. 60, the Normandy. Yeah. So I get to my station. I'm waiting for my ship to come in, right? So I'm on base. I get to go home every weekend. I'm having really good meals, all that. I go see somebody in Staten Island. This is prior to Wu-Tang, of course. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I go see somebody, see some people I know. I don't know how, because you live in Staten Island, so now you're going out doing stuff. I'll go see them. So then I left. We got back on base. Guy fell asleep, crashed. left me paralyzed, and that was it.
Oh, that's how the accident happened
That's
here
how
in New
it
York.
Yeah.
Wow. So after you were in the Navy and did your thing in the Navy, accident happened, which forced you to get out the Navy. And after you get out, what happens next? Do you go back to your parents' house, or what's
Yeah,
going on?
I go back to my parents' house, luckily, and I just sit because I don't know what to do. And that's what, to me, and I bless you, I thank you for this program, because that's the problem to me when it comes to VA, right? That next step, and that's the thing, that problem I have sort of with the military too. There needs to be, don't look at someone that gets in the military, now they're out, now I wash my hands of you. You're not one of us anymore. If we're a veteran, then we're one of you always. We should always take care of each other. So there is nothing that transitions people into what to do next once you're out, and not especially if no fault of your own. Yeah. I'm out of a military discharge. I'm 20 something. What am I supposed to do? No guidance, no nothing. Yeah. Just some papers. Bye.
And what do you say to, because I hear a lot of veterans say this too, but a lot of times the way I look at it is, we join the military at 18, you come out, and if you do 4 years, you come out at 22. A lot of times we're not, no degree, can't really, you're trying to navigate your way back.
And it's not to cut you off, but I have to. What I learned in military isn't necessarily transferable.
Because you were in a ship.
Teletype. I went to A school for teletype repairman because I was a radioman, because you have to learn to be able to, you have to fix the actual communication devices and all that. So they don't have that in the real world? The closest I got to that was I tried to get a job as a typewriter repairman. And I did that. They kind of taught me somewhat, sort of some type of school. I learned that a little bit, but because I learned how to read schematics, I learned how to, look at wires and computers and all that stuff. So that's the only thing I could try to do. But do I want to do that for the rest of my life? No. I want to be in fashion.
Yeah, you want to be.
So and that's the thing. There needs to be a second course, to get people to another level. So once we're out, what do you do next? It should be a transformation course. And how do I understand it? How do I take this from A to B? How do, you know what I mean? Like like you said, like Marines, once you're a Marine, you're a Marine, period. Once we're a sailor, we're a sailor, we're a sailor, we're a sailor. It's in our blood, it's our genes, it's what we are. All those people that you were on base with or went deployment with, those are your brothers. Those are your brothers, period. Because at any time, you had to save their life, or they had to save yours. And you had to put your hands in your life in their hands all them times. That's worse than any friend I've ever known. And you don't know me? You just met me? And you snap, all right, what we gonna do? That's and people go, oh, you're a veteran now, thanks for your service. No, you don't understand. That's not the half of it. Thanks for my service.
I see the passion in you because I had a friend of mine who's a professional, accomplished, and we served in the Marines together. And he once really, he's not one of, because I'm super proud of my service. He is too, but it's not something that he enjoys talking about because he's like, okay, I'm a veteran, and what? Where did
because you know what? He probably got caught once he got out. It was like, okay, you're out. Now what?
And he's accomplished.
It was just a job to him.
He's accomplished. Yeah.
It's just a job.
But he loved the Marine Corps. Like when we were in, he did. It just, I guess, with everything that is going on now, in the world now, it's almost like, well, we'll get to that part later. But I totally agree with you. I do think there should be a way to transition a veteran from the service to becoming into the civilian world. And do you think the military is looking at it in terms of money, as in like, I don't want to spend this amount of money transitioning a veteran because it costs money when he's no longer beneficial to me? Because for boot camp, coming from a civilian, you have to go to boot camp, where I think majority of the money is spent in a short amount of time. Because, Marine Corps boot camp is 3 months, so it's a lot of training on top of it. But then they know they're going to need you for the next 4 years. Now, if you're leaving the service, why should I put any money in to helping you transition?
Okay, so I would think that then how I would work it is I would go to the VA, and it'll be in conjunction with all the armed services. Then the VA has a course that does that. Then let the VA handle it and let it be under your VA rating. Everyone should have a 1% rating, because mentally that transformation is different.
Yeah.
It's different. You're not the same anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
So you already have an ailment, because you're not human.
You're not the same person.
You're not the same person.
Yeah.
You're not that snotty-nosed kid that went in at 18.
Yeah.
You're not that irate kid that think you know everything. It's different now. So everybody should start out with 1%. That's it. And that 1% pays for you to get that transformation.
Wow.
That's what I suggest.
That's a good idea.
And for instance, too, I have a SAM, which is a cage code, so I can actually sell to the government. I also SDVOSB, if I said that correctly, right? So I can sell to the VA, and I help out any way I can in that respect, as far as, because I'm in the manufacturing and distribution and things like that. So whatever they need, PPE products, things like that, I help out and to make sure that the veterans get what they need. And before that, I was selling to the government, through the exchanges, clothing just as well.
Which we're going to talk about.
Right, which we're going to talk about a little later. But when in the military, they teach you to be a unit and to be of what you're doing. They don't teach you to be an entrepreneur, a free thinker.
So what I get is,
so once you get out, that transformation has to turn you into a free thinker, because you're still trapped in the bubble of being a non-thinker.
So would you say the leadership, everything that you learn is geared towards the military? It's military related, but even though you can take some parts of it out and apply it to your civilian life. But again, a lot of us come in at 18 right after high school, so this is like the prime time where you get molded into one way of thinking. So when you get out now, you get confused because what your target is no longer the same.
Correct.
Okay.
We could turn it and say, just imagine a kid going in jail at 17, 18. Going to jail at 17, 18. And they do 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When you come out, what happens to you? You're institutionalized. What do you do? You're out, you got here's a little bit of money, go ahead.
We talk about you selling to the military, obviously with the entrepreneurship mind, and you said you sell what now to the military?
So right now, we're in COVID, COVID-19 has engulfed the world. Right now, there's a lot of hospitals, government officials or institutions or whatever that need products like gloves, masks, gowns, things like that. So what I did was I formed a company in which I provide those particular items to the government. But for you to be able to sell to the government, you have to have certain credentials, which is a cage code, or to sell to the Veterans Administration, you have to have a rating, SD.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're.
Whatever.
We'll look it up.
So yeah, we'll look it up. But you have to have that, and in case in that case, I did that because this is kind of my give back. Yeah. I got out of the military, and off a medical discharge, I got some money, and I guess we'll talk about what I did with that money. Yeah. And I feel like this is my way to give back and try to help out and get them the products they need. I'm going to VA. I need them to have gowns and things like that because I go there all the time. Right. So I just try to help out however I can.
I love your way of thinking. Not only you get to work and make a profit and start your own business, but you use your benefits to do it, and then you also give back to veterans. And you got out, and for me, I know you are for FUBU. Yeah. At first, I didn't know anything about you being a veteran, and you guys had the '90s on Smash. That '90s, all of the 2000s too, because I know you had from FUBU, then you had FUBU Platinum and so on. Yeah. Tell me about how did you get involved in FUBU? Obviously, you're an entrepreneur, but how did you get involved? It's 4 of you guys, and walk me through it.
Okay, so Short story. Basically, Damon, I was going to school with Damon. I went to school with Damon, and my last years of school, we were in something called co-op in Bayside High School. And co-op it's so you work a week and you go to school a week. So I've been going to school, actually I've been going to go to school with Damon since junior high school, since day one of junior high school. So we were good friends.
Damon, who's now on Shark Tank.
Damon John from Shark Tank,
Yeah.
right. So I came back home. I had about I think it was $7,000, right? I gave Damon $6,000. Now you ask me, why would I give him $6,000? Basically, Damon was making a hat, a tie-top hat, when I came back home. I was working at Macy's at the time because I still was trying to get into fashion. I was trying to be a buyer. So when I saw Damon was making a hat, I said, Damon, that says nice, it says FUBU, Forest Bias, the whole meeting, I was like, oh, this is great. Let's turn this to a clothing line. And he looked at me like I had 5 heads, like, how could you do that? I was like, well, trust me, I can do it. I was going to FIT, through the GI Bill.
I love
like
this.
GI Bill.
Yeah.
So, the military, if it wasn't for the military, I wouldn't be here and I'd have no success.
So now we're learning that the GI Bill pretty much funded a huge part of FUBU.
Yes.
One of the,
Yes.
you guys were legendary.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah, GI Bill. It's to actually change it again to something else. But let's go back to the story. So basically, I gave him the money and I said, listen, let's start the brand. So he's like, I don't know how to do this. I do. I'm going to FIT. And from then on, we just started the brand.
Wow. And it's 4 of you guys.
It's 4 of us. So one of them, Keith, went to last year's high school with us. Mm-hmm. And Carl went to another school, but Carl was Damon's friend prior to me because he lived like a little closer. Mm-hmm. So he was more of a childhood friend than I was, almost by years, because he lived like literally like down the block from him. I lived a few blocks over. And
all of you guys are from Queens. Right?
All from Queens.
And 3 of you went to Bayside.
3 went to Bayside, went to Cardozo.
Cardozo, which is around
same
the
thing,
same
pretty
area.
much,
Yeah.
same thing.
So now, FUBU in the 90s, how did it blow up? Walk me through it.
I think FUBU worked because I had the ability to be able to take, quote unquote, military and the openness I had towards the world, towards fashion, towards all the stuff that I've seen, and take that and put it all into like a garment. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, I would use, hence, Coca-Cola Red. Well, why are you using Coca-Cola Red? In my head, I've seen Coca-Cola all over the world. So that color is synonymous with
the mind.
The mind, like marketing, like you see that color, for some reason I like it. Mm-hmm. So I used Coca-Cola Red for our primary color.
And listen to what you call it now. It's not just red, it's Coca-Cola Red.
Right, Coca-Cola Red. Yeah. Right. So you're looking at it, you're like, why do I like this so much? I'm not saying anything, mm-hmm. right? But I wouldn't have if I didn't have the military mind, mm-hmm. So you have to be able to take what you learn. And not necessarily, it's not necessarily what you learn in the military. It's the application of the concepts that they teach. Mm-hmm. The application psychologically what they teach you. Mm-hmm. That is what you should absorb and take on and move on with. Now, and that's what helped me.
Let me ask you, is LL Cool J the first artist to like really wear FUBU?
Well, he's the biggest artist. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had artists prior to him. But he was the one that took it and put it on his back and really went, just bonkers with it. Like he really believed in us. Funny story, and I know a few people I tell about this. LL was in a rap group prior to him being by himself. He went solo, right? LL's best friend, brother, and I were in a rap group.
Oh, wow.
So it was them two as the older brothers and us two as, just the guys. Yeah. And they would tell us how to rap and tell us what we should do, such and such. And it was just funny, So years later, I'm coming up and I have FUBU. And he's like, man, I remember you from, on the block, my best friend's, little brother, yeah, I was just trying to rap. Cool, I'm gonna help you out, and that's the reason why he helped
love
out.
like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the reason why he helped out.
For that.
That's why he helped out.
That's love. And FUBU, you guys from 90s all the way to what was the first thing that you guys designed, would you say?
The first thing,
because I know you said you were doing hats at first, but the first thing after that.
First thing was t-shirts.
T-shirts.
First thing.
And how did you go about selling that? What was the?
We would go up to stores and put it in the stores on consignment. Mm-hmm. I always teach people. I say this. No one's here to finance your dreams. Like, what are you talking about? Because everyone has a dream or everyone has something they want to do. But you can't go to someone else to try to get it. You have to home in, develop what you're doing so they come to you. That's just me. Like, I want to do it a certain way so you come to me. That way it's on my terms. But when you're going to someone and saying, hey, I need, it's okay, well, I'm going to give you this, but then I need this, and I need that, I need this, I need that. And it becomes different. Like, people don't want to bake anymore. They want a microwave. Mm-hmm. People want to just put something up and get a whole bunch of likes right now. Mm-hmm. But then, let me tell you where you turn those likes into. You want internet bucks? Like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to spend them at? Mm-hmm. This is not cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. So I just tell people to just develop build what you're doing. Sell one, buy one, sell one, buy one, sell one, buy one, sell one, buy one, sell one, buy one. Until all of a sudden now you're selling 300 million pieces and you don't really need that money. People want to give you money when you don't need it. That's what you want.
It's crazy you say that because I read somewhere that FUBU was in that same process, but there was a time you got an order from, I think, Macy's or Dillard's, that you guys were like, how do we cover this? But simply because you guys were bubbling, you guys worked hard enough to attract them, to make them want to come to you.
Exactly.
But when they come and say, hey, we want your clothing.
Right, now it's on my level. Now it's on what I want to do, not versus a deal that's cut, a deal that I cut. People always say sometimes, oh, he jerked me, or he did this, or he did that. No. It's the deal you cut. It's the deal you cut. Mm-hmm.
So you get what you negotiate.
So you want to make it so impactful or so, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just keep it simple. You want to make what you're doing so attractive that everyone's coming to you. Yeah. And that's just what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. And would you say during that time as well, because obviously FUBU, Kalkanar was before you, right?
Yes, forefather of
it. Yeah. Kalkanar was before you. And what drew the inspiration for FUBU exactly? Other than by us and wanting to go into business, because you got really involved with hip hop culture. Because I saw a lot of music videos, you would have your product, and a lot of times you'll have the video vixens. I hope that's not a bad term. A lot of the women that you see in rap videos, you would have them in your commercial. Because we talked about the Hello Hello commercial. I think Melissa Ford, I believe, was in it. What was the idea? Was it so much that you were wanted to be for the culture as well, or it was?
Again, it's hard not to be, because that's who you were. We were authentic. I was only doing what I know. I was only creating what I know because that's where I come from. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It was easy for me to create something that people like because I'm of that world. We're of like minds. Yeah. Yeah. I know the sensibility. I know my target market. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know psychologically what you like. I know, your demographics. I know demographics, of course. Psychographics. I know it all because I am of that.
You live it. Yeah.
I live it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like somebody telling you, that's wrong. How's that wrong? It's my story.
I'm glad you said it like that. And do you remember how you felt, or maybe I'm just looking at from my perspective, when you first saw maybe like outside of LL Cool J, other rappers are now wearing your brand, and it's just everywhere. You're in Times Square, because I remember seeing you're everywhere. How does it feel to come from Queens? Then military, and then now you're on Times Square.
You know what? To be honest, for years, I just knew it was going to be. So I never really looked at it from the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
I only started looking at it from the outside looking in years later when we were in, now we're in a museum. We're in 3 museums.
I read that.
Right, excuse me. We're in 3 museums and textbooks. Now it's an out-of-body experience. Because it can go back to somebody saying to you, oh man, FUBU fell off. Nobody wears that anymore, but you were never on. So what are we talking about?
I like that. I like that.
What are we talking about?
I like that.
Next question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
and
that's how I look at it now.
For those who say FUBU fell, I know during that time, again, I keep going back to that time because I remember vividly, you had Kalkanai, and then Kalkanai is doing this thing, FUBU comes, and then now you have Fat Farm, which was owned by Russell Simmons at the time.
Correct.
And then you have, obviously, Sean John, then you got Rockaware, you have all these urban, these
But let me tell you
lines.
how that happened. Basically, we were the predominant brand, right? I mean, literally. And we birthed a lot of brands. Even if they want to say it, maybe they don't, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. With that, and the reason why with that is that we had, all the rappers were wearing it, but after a while the rappers said, let me take myself, let me start marketing myself and doing my own brand. And then that's part of the reason why our brand the market share started getting taken away because all the rappers were starting to make their own brands. Just as well as other people felt like, the follow and herd mentality of, okay, I can go to clothing line, I can do a clothing line. So now there's feel like it's thousands of clothing lines out there. So now but we're still pretty much,
the forefathers.
The forefathers. Still much as big, have a good market share, but not as much as we had. So then we started trying to do marketing. We did a situation where we started creating our own label. So we created our own label with our own artists. So now we put that on their artists because you want to play that game? You don't want to wear my stuff anymore because you want to do your own? No problem.
Genius. What was the FUBU Records and
FUBU
it was
Records.
Platoon? I remember.
54 Platoon.
Yeah, I remember.
Then
that.
we had Fatty Girl.
Military too.
Yep,
Military.
Yep,
Did you think of that?
No. They actually was a group from New Orleans, and they thought of it because they liked the name because they remember 54 Platoon was a unit, and if I'm never gonna say it wrong. And, I don't know whoever's gonna write in and probably correct me, but I remember it being something like a unit. And they wanted to market themselves around that because they were a unit.
Yeah. And
that's what they liked.
So they were your first artists?
Yes, among others. They were my first artists. Yeah.
And obviously, I'm just saying this, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. You think because so many other rappers try to do the same thing, that all of it ended up, not being up to because when obviously FUBU and Kalkanai had the market, it was up there like you said, and then everybody else come and everyone is fighting for that position. But I see the brands of like the other non-blacks are still moving up simply because
right. No, go please. I'm sorry.
Simply because I feel a lot of times that we even put down our own brand to glorify other brands that's not even in our culture.
Well, you said it. Yeah. You said it. You said it. That we have that kind of mentality as a group. We have that kind of mentality. We sit there and say for us, by us, and we live it, to be honest. And I'm not necessarily just saying for us, by us, and just only 100%, urban or minorities. It's everyone, who loves. Because if you go to a rap concert now, there's about 5 black people, So it's just that whole culture, that whole everything, right? But again, we're gonna take it as ours because it really is ours. If you really want to shake a stick at it, and yes, but we open it up to the world because, and not to get political or apolitical or whatever.
This is the platform to do it, brother.
But you can like what you like. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But if you look at different races. Every race has the ability to be able to say, to accept African American, to go, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is my people. And as soon as we as a race, or black people as a race, do that, they're getting hit on the hand, or they're getting whatever, or there's always a crab in the barrel that's trying to get ahead of someone because they're feeding them money to be able to be the beacon, and then keeping everybody else down because they just want all the money. And again, and that was instilled in us probably from day one of slavery, and it just transferred on and on and on and on and morphed into what's going on today. One of my best times of my whole life was in the times when we really we were starting to make it, and we were making it, and there was so many other brands out there, and there was so many different rappers and music artists and football players and basketball players and doctors and lawyers, and for some reason it was just so many. Everybody was rich. Everybody was rich, or had money, or was doing something, or positive. It was just beautiful. And it seems like every time it gets to that point, somehow it just dissolves, because as if maybe that we feel like we don't deserve it. I don't know what it is. And again, and that's what happens. It's a travesty in that respect, because when I look at the brand, in a whole as something that somebody could look back. Like, listen, we up to $1 billion in sales.
You did $1 billion in sales.
In actually it's really $6 billion.
Wow,
I don't want to tell you the number.
I read that. That's what I read,
because it just wouldn't make any sense.
Like,
just wouldn't make any sense to some people. So I kind of don't really want to say it. But there's a lot of brands out there, like you just spoke about, that not even
close.
0.00000001 of that number, but they would get more recognition from your own.
Let me ask you, and we talked about this. We talked about other brands, and I may know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Was FUBU 100% black owned?
Last time I checked. Do I need to do, what's that, DNA something?
You look black to me, but I'm talking about
DNA
no back end, no one else was, No. But
no, back end was me. First, Damon put in to make his first hats, right? And I came in and put in money to take it to make it what it was. That's
beautiful.
It. That's the only money that started it.
Beautiful.
Now, later on, we did strategic deals with distribution companies, and then sometimes, with that, it looks like, or someone is involved or whatever. But if we do a licensing deal, you do a licensing deal with Africa or Asia or whoever, or a licensing deal, whatever. You don't necessarily give up a percentage, but you get it. You let them use your name. So in turn, it's their company, but they owe you a royalty, and you make money. And
Same way with music and film,
right?
And
so on. But see, I wrote something today on social media, and I said, and if I hope I can say this right, it's something simple: is facts. You can alter facts, right? And I want to explain it. I don't want to just say it. People have facts, right? You can't change a fact to an opinion.
Yeah. You can have your opinion.
You can have your opinion all you want.
Yeah.
But you can't alter a fact. Yeah. 1 + 1 is 2. No matter what you say. No matter what you say. Yeah. Period. Yeah. So you can't alter that and say, but 2-ish. No, 2.
FUBU is blowing up all over the world, right? Not only in the United States, but all over the world. Where would you say outside of the United States was your most prominent market?
I think my most prominent market was Asia.
Asia?
Yeah. And they love, they love us. They love the culture. They've always loved the culture. So I think that was it. But I spent more time in Asia too, so I have that influence as well.
I can totally see it, because in Japan, that's all like.
That's all they like.
They like.
Yeah, we have huge stores there.
Yeah, and you still have stores
there?
Yeah,
yeah, but we sold our license to them. They sold that license, so they get to do, take FUBU and do what they want with it. We got a nice little check for that.
Nice. And you got your hands on like so many different things, which I didn't know that you were selling to the military, especially during COVID. Obviously, where do you get that mentality? I know you said from the military. Were you always thinking business? When you said you liked fashion before, was it the business aspect of fashion you liked? Or it was more like, I like fashion, but if I'm gonna create it, I'm gonna sell it and try to maximize, you know.
No, I have this weird. I don't want to call it weird because it's not weird anymore. After I put it in the book and make it make sense, it's not weird anymore. It's just a different way to think about things, and I'll say that. I have a way of looking at things not in a goal mentality, more of a vision mentality. Because I can't deal with goals. I just don't know how to do it. Because I always tell people, for me, and I guess I just put it in the book, if I have a goal, that's all I'm looking at it. And if you smack me in the head, I don't know if you can smack me in the head.
Nah, I don't want to
no, just do it. Just do it. Trust me.
You sure?
Yeah.
Boom.
I don't know where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
But if I think in a vision-wise, get smack me in the head.
Yeah.
I can block it.
So military again.
Right. Right. I know, right?
So you see that?
So I could block it. And I have to think that way because I want to see everything that's coming at me.
Yeah.
So when I wanted to be in fashion, I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to be in beauty. I didn't necessarily know I didn't want to be a designer. I didn't think about being a designer. I can't draw. Mm-hmm. But I can be a creative director, right? So I'm a creative director. Now all of a sudden I own a company, one of the largest companies in the world, and I'm the head designer for it. Wow. But if I was tunnel vision, my butt was still trying to figure out how to be a buyer. Because I kept saying, I'm gonna be a buyer. Why? Because I know so much from all over, and I can, and I'm like, but if I did that, I can't see what else is going on. I can't see other things that I can actually feel like I can be into or I can do.
Now, with 4 people involved in FUBU, would you say there was a challenge anywhere? Because you can always imagine working with different people.
The challenges is always 3 against 1. Because I always think differently. I always think at a higher level. And not necessarily saying that they thought at a lower level, but they thought as, look, let's just get it out there. It doesn't really matter. I always thought that let's do a military. Let's do it this way. Do it this way. Do it this way. Structured. Let's do it this way. Let's make it the highest, the best it could be. Because when you didn't you have to have that crease? Didn't you have to have your shoes buffed to 100%? Everything had to be 100%. So when you get out of the military, everything, if it's not 100%, why would I want it at 80? Oh, it's cool. It's good enough. Nothing's good enough. If it's not right, what are you doing it for? And I kept with that. So it would be 3 against 1 all the time, and I wouldn't necessarily lose. I would only win by me standing up for myself and saying, listen, this is what we should do. You guys don't know better than me because I'm the one that's coming from school. I'm the one that has the vision. I'm the one that said, let's do this. I'm the one that has the fashion sense. So again, I would,
Do you think that was coming more from a business mentality versus a fashion sense? They were looking at,
You know what it really was? I think it was more of a creative sense because I've seen more. Like they would go on tour with LL and maybe they see a couple of states here and there, but they didn't see the world. They could, for them, and they probably in their head, the world was flat. And if I think about it, again, only maybe in this situation I can actually say it this way or explain it this way. But I think that's what it really, really was.
Where you feel like, like you said, like we started out talking about seeing the world opens up your eyes more as opposed to where you are is what you know, kind of thing. So I definitely can see that.
Think about it. True story. When we were on tour back when we had the label, and we were on the last leg of the tour. So we had this tour bus. So we pull up to this restaurant that I like called Olives. I knew the chef. Well, I knew the chef and the one in New York. So I go there, I say, oh, I know the guy, the chef, such and such from New York. Oh my God, that's my guy, such and such, And so the management says, no problem. Take all you guys upstairs, put you, and we'll give you the chef's table, gigantic chef's table. The chef will cook just for us exclusively. So we get upstairs, and I'm like, all right, great, I'm paying for everything. right? This is the last leg of the tour. We're almost done. So this is a thank you for everyone, whatever. And I look around. I'm like, well, where's the other guys? Where's such and such? Where's such and such? Oh, they didn't want to come. They don't like this kind of food. They don't like this kind of food? What does that mean? What are you talking about? I go down to the bus. They in the bus. What's wrong? Yo, y'all getting on get off the bus. Come on. I don't want that, man. I ain't going up and eating that. I don't want to. I'm not doing all that. What are you talking about? Just try it. Just try it.
And
So I had them sit, man, all right, man, I'm coming, but I ain't gonna eat nothing. All right. So the chef starts bringing stuff around. They order them a Hennessy straight. All right, whatever you want. They have it, no problem. Food start coming around. They see people eating. They're like, oh my God, this is good. And I don't hear peep from them the whole time. They ordering more. I'm like, see, open your eyes.
Yeah.
See, because you were stuck in where you're from, and you think that's the best. You had a steak from wherever, and you think, oh my God, this is the best. But look, when you really just get to taste, something that's a better quality, now you're not gonna go back. Mm-hmm. Now you're gonna make all your money. You're gonna make sure you do what you got to do because you can't go back to eating that. Mm-hmm.
I totally understand, and I can see
that's what the military does for you. It takes your mental to a place where you can't accept anything, because anything other than 100%, you're dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, and I say it's true because when I got out of the military, like you said, how you have your job, then you got to transition. I got lucky. I got a job working with the Department of Defense contracting, right? Mm-hmm. So I would work for
that's what I am. Companies. That's what I am, a contractor.
Contractor.
Yeah, for the military.
Yeah, and I got to work for, I'm not going to say the name of the companies. So I worked in logistics, which I was doing in the military, and then I ended up working for a company that worked in it was an electronic warfare company where they stopped the bombs from going off, the IEDs. So I had to go to electronic warfare school. So after that was done, I'll go to work my job running the whole logistics, right? And obviously from going to the school, you pick up the skill, and I ended up working in electronic warfare. And a lot of times, I'm not going to tell the details, obviously, because I don't know what the terrorists and so on are doing. Right. So you can put up the wrong thing simply by one mistake in the wrong channel, and that could be the lives of 100 people. Yep. So when you say that 100% is what you have to give every time, that 1% can ruin lives. Right. And it can even hurt people who are on base, not only out there, because if your communication is down there, you got to send more guys out there to do a research team and so on. So I totally get when we say as a military, it's 100% all the time. So I'm with you on that.
One mistake, there is no mistake. You can't have a mistake. There is no mistake.
A mistake will kill you.
A mistake is death. Yeah. It's either the right way
or no way at all.
Yeah. And that's what the military teaches you, and I love it for that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I say that to anyone who's listening to this. If you're a kid and you're 18, 19, 20, I don't know what age you can go into.
I think all the way up to like 34 now.
Stop. If it's not working out, you're from Chicago, you want to get out the gang, you want to this, go into the military. Mm-hmm. It situates you, it gets you right, it takes you out of your element, gives you some foundation, and you move on from there. Mm-hmm. And then when it's leave time, you ain't got to go home. Mm-hmm. You stay there.
Yeah. And you had your clothing line, you had your record label. Where was your clothes being made? Was it here in New York? Or was it
no.
Because I ask because it takes. I'm also talking to you now that you're here for other people who want to go into fashion.
Well, China. First was China, Korea. At times we did it in Korea, not anymore, of course. Guatemala, California, some small little stuff, capsules in New York, things like that.
You ever thought about maybe holding a class?
India as well too.
Some kind of training for people who want to go into that?
Well, I do. I mean, my consulting company, Jackson & Martin Consulting, you call me up, and if you need some help,
nice.
I usually help. It's no problem.
I like that.
Yeah.
And your office obviously was in the city?
Yeah, office in the city, yeah.
and you guys got to travel the whole world. And
Yeah.
now you're putting it. This is your second book you got coming out.
Second book. Okay, so my first book was about making all this money and losing it and spending it. And it gives people a perspective on money, lets you understand what money is, understand your relationship, having a relationship with money. So that way you know, when the average person, gets $1 and they spend it or spend 50 cents of it. Me, I can't spend $1 unless I make $3 now. And I do that on purpose because I'm a spender. Now, how I'm a spender? By just reading this book, you'll understand who you are and your relationship with money and how you deal with money.
What's the name of the book again?
It's called Money Makes Me Crazy.
Money Makes Me Crazy. We'll put that in the... Okay.
And that's because it made me crazy. I just went Vida Loca. Look. And because you got to understand too, because where we come from as a young adult, we see so much that we wanted. We see so much that we didn't have, right? So we overcompensate. And now we want to get everything that we never had. And then, but you don't think about the business part of it is because now you spent it all and now money starts to dry up. Not as much money comes in and now you have all these bills and you overextend yourself and it's a whole bunch of stuff. That, and you get to get the book to read to understand that part. My second book, which is a 3-part series. The next part is going to be, the third part is going to be marketing. But if this right now we have my new book, which just came out. It's called Building an Empire. And this is basically the concepts and how you need to think to be an entrepreneur. This is how my mental and how I applied the military and how I applied all the things that I've known I do to business, so we were able to build an empire.
Yeah. And I'm definitely gonna pick up that book, man. I should have told you, hey, bring me one, but I'm definitely gonna grab it because I'm reading a book now. I have because I try to read as much as possible. I have 3 books left, and I'm in the middle of one now, and then the other 3 are short. So and I'm gonna pick up yours and read it before the year is over. Because I want to know more about this, and I want to, because obviously you understand a lot of things that I don't understand simply because you've been there, you've been in the business, and I imagine the same way for a lot of people.
And it's not just fashion either. It's not like when you read the book, The Building an Empire. It's not necessarily just pinpoint of I tell you what reason why I use this color or whatever. It gets you. You gotta think about this. When you go to school and they teach you business, but they don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a whole nother mindset. Whole other mindset. To have a business is a whole other mindset. It is not for the faint of heart. So I likened it to be similar to something like, let's say, Think and Grow Rich. And that's the only book I can think of. But people say, well, what is it like? The only book I can think about is Think and Grow Rich. Okay. Because it puts you in a different mindset. Not doing the same things that other people are doing. Thinking outside the box. And once you get it, you'll see.
And how long did it take you to write the book, would you say? Because I feel like you just have so much. Like to put a book out like that, you have to go back to early on.
Again, funniest thing about me, my first book, it took me 3 months. My second book, it took me 2 months.
Wow.
I wrote it through COVID.
Oh wow! And it's already out. And why do you think it took you only 2 months to put? Simply because you already had the material, you didn't have to really.
Because, to be honest, I'm a proactive person. So for instance, COVID hits. Well, what do? Okay, zig and zag. Think about something else. Okay, how do I pivot? What else do I do? Okay, my business is on hold. Other business is on hold. How do I, okay, let me consult. Okay, I do this. All right, so what's going on? What do people need? You do that, right? At the same time, people need to understand what they should be doing right now, right? Right now, it's a halt. Everything is halted. You have to. You can look at yourself and embrace yourself and say, okay, where's my fault? What can I do? How could I? All the things I always wanted to do, maybe I can start doing it now. At least setting myself up to be able to do it now. Do it after this is over. And I said to myself, okay, I need to give up. You can't go any higher unless you give up. Like an animal, you have to shed your skin to get newer skin. So I have to shed all the things that I know, and that's why I'm doing it in these books, and that's why I can write it so fast, because I have so much, and I have a higher level to go to, or to reach, because this is not it. This is not the be end all. There's a lot more I got to do, and that's just how I think. I'm a helping verb, you know. I'm the guy that's gonna jump out in front of a bullet for you, you know. That's just who I am. So I got to shed and give out all my knowledge, and I can just do it that fast. And then the next book comes out, or doing these things like here. That's why I'm talking so much.
I love it. I love it.
This is what, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours we sitting there talking, because I have so much to say, and I have so much that God's put in my spirit for me to give away. Mm-hmm. And again, some people say to me, I know, oh, why'd you give out all your ideas? It's not my ideas. It's not me. It's not about me. Mm-hmm. It's about others. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why you get into the military, because it's about your country. Mm-hmm. It's not about you. Mm-hmm. And we all come together as one, as a unit, to help and make sure this country is the best it can be.
What's next for you?
It's not even. It's never a next. It's always a continuation.
Okay.
It's just a continuation. It never stops. Yeah. Next is, okay, I stopped this, now I'm going to something else. Mm-hmm. But if you say what's next, is that the next door, next this, next
what's
that?
The next step? What is the next thing you're working on?
No, I just constantly work.
Nice.
I never look at it like that. Nice. I never look at it as next.
Yeah, and I
never close the door.
And I peeped on your social media too.
Oh, yes,
and you've been quite vocal about what's going on today in today's world. I saw you had Breonna Taylor's pictures up, and you screamed for justice. And I saw, I don't know if it was in your office, you had on a Black Lives Matter t-shirt.
Yes.
And as you were coming here today, and one of the things that I was thinking about was, you remember the Central Park
Central 5, yes.
And now, you know, you as an accomplished black man who have served your country and have had one of the biggest brands in clothing. I'm not even going to say urban clothing, because there was a point where it was everywhere. And this could have happened to you, and so on.
Now it did.
It did.
It did. It's not so much. Nothing nearly like that. But I was on a show called The Circus, and if you go back to the episode when the last episode when Trump won, and again, I won't tell my affiliation. It doesn't really matter at this point, because I don't really care who you are, what you like. That's on you. And I'm one for opinions. Everyone can have their opinion on how they feel. Yeah. It is what it is. If you love them, you love them. You like them, whatever. I'm not saying I don't do whatever.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm just facts are facts.
Facts, yeah.
Right. So, I almost lost my train of thought.
You were on a show called The Circus.
So The Circus, right? So, the day of, I was in a cigar place, and this cigar place is in New York, and there's two sides. There's a sort of like the black side, and then sort of like the white side. Mm-hmm. I sit on the white side. For some reason, I just sat there. I would like sitting there, and not because I look at things as black and white. Mm-hmm. You know, I look at things as it is what it is, right? So I don't get into that. I love everybody, right? Because again, when you're in the military, I don't care what country, where you from, he got to have my back, I got to have his. And that's how they raised us to be, or they made us, you know? So long story short, I'm sitting there, and he wins. And everybody's, but in the front, everybody's like, oh, he lost, right? And I'm like, well, I wasn't not necessarily for him or against him, whatever. So I was like, okay, fine, no problem. I leave. So I already had back and forth tension with animosity, because I felt it in the air at that actual lounge. So I leave.
Oh, you talking about during the presidency? During the election?
This election. Okay. Right, this election. And he has won. So I'm seeing how people reacting. I see the black people in the front, all upset, and I see white people in the back, all like, oh, I told you he's gonna win, and I'm just sitting there being quiet, because I'm very quiet. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm in an interview.
No, I love this.
and I wind up leaving. Taking a walk, and I'm just walking around it's kind of feel like out of body, because I'm just looking at people, and it's just a weird feeling in the air. I see people walking around crying. I see people, sad. I see people happy. So I just wind up sitting. There's a big it's in Manhattan, a big group of people all around. There's cameras everywhere. So I just sat there and just was looking around, just like absorbing how people were reacting. So a black woman is walking down a block, right, being harassed by a group of white men. And it's a true story. They have it on film. So I want to say something to protect her, but I don't want to get involved. So I'm torn between saying something and not getting involved, saying something, not getting involved, saying something, because I don't know what she said prior to getting, for them screaming at her. I don't know if she's, you know what I mean? So not that anybody should be screaming on any woman, period, and especially a group. So I wound up saying, ma'am, you okay? You know, why don't you just, you know, just don't keep entertaining them, just walk away. So I try to be the you know, right one out of this and try to just kind of handle it that kind of way. Because, you know, I got stuff to lose. I'm not going to, go crazy. So they come around. They wind up standing above me. Now I'm sitting like this. So it's my legs are sitting on this thing and my legs are dangling. Now, as a black man, I'm sorry. You can't stand over somebody with your...
Especially a veteran, too. That's another
That's
thing.
not happening.
Yeah.
So I turn around like break fool. Like, whoa. So they start coming around me, start screaming at me, telling me to go back to my country. Go back to my country? You monkey?
I'm sorry you had to deal with that, brother. That's sad. And especially as a veteran. Like,
but I said to myself, God. Excuse me? Pardon me? You go back to your country, you black. So they start screaming. So instead of me, my upbringing didn't come out. But this
where
came
you
out.
are today.
This came out. So I killed them with this instead of killing them with this. Because I really wanted to kill them with this.
Sometimes you gotta bite that. You gotta.
So I tell them, first of all, do you know who I am? 50% disabled, fought in Desert Storm, black man, FUBU, president of the New York State Black Chamber of Commerce, on the board of the National Black Chamber of Commerce. And I listed all my accolades.
But I feel, why do we black men have to tell all of this just so we can be, just so you can just see me as a person, just so you can respect me like I respect you?
You know why? Sometimes it's almost like asking the question of, why are we here? Are there other beings outside of this? Because to me, sometimes, instead of me having to do all that, I like doing it. Because I like the accolades.
Yeah, I mean, you like what you've made of yourself. And there was a time where I caught myself doing a lot of that too. Quit to tell them, I fought in Iraq, I did this. And just so people can just see like, yo, I'm not a threat.
True. But in this case, they picked on the wrong one.
I'm with you. 100%. I'm with you. 100%.
And they got caught on camera. They picked on the wrong one. It was like, yeah. They shut up though. Yeah. Afterwards, every camera came over to me, wanted my name, everything. I didn't know what cameras would film it. And come to find out I was on the show. Yeah.
I mean, that night, Deep and I were working for an Indian news media that night. We were out there with cameras too.
Wow.
That's
40 near the Hilton. 40-something
street.
Yeah,
it's on 50, I want to say, right, it's 53rd around from
50, that's where I was.
That's where we were.
I was there. Yeah. That's where I was sitting. I was like right across. That's where all the news cameras were. I was sitting up on this thing, like literally across from
CBS and avenues of it was on 5th and 53rd. Right?
53rd,
yeah. That's exactly.
So I was sitting right there like that, and that's how it happened.
Yeah,
funny story. See, you probably walk past it. It's like, what's going on over there?
It was too rowdy during that time, and we were just busy running around with cameras with the news anchor and stuff. And my brother, I gotta apologize to you for that. That's so unfortunate that you as a black man who was born here in Queens and served your country, being told to go back to your country and referring to you as an animal.
But see, somebody like that ignorance, I could have said, you know what, go back to my country. You go back to your country. Mm-hmm. Where you gonna go? Because you don't stole your forefathers stole everything that you don't even have a home. Because this is not our country. This is the Indians' country. So we can go back. If you want us to go back to Africa, no problem. Bye, see ya. Now where you gonna go? Who gonna take you? So those ignorant people that do that, you gotta kill them with this. Because they want you to do this. Because they want you to do this. It's, see.
Do you feel now, because you've said that, because what I notice is a lot of times when
discipline. Yeah. That's what that military teaches you, discipline. And that was discipline.
Do you feel, because you've experienced that and now you're talking about it, because I know from my own personal experience, a lot of times that when we black men and women experience these things and we speak out against it and just share the story with other people, other non-blacks see it, and now they start to treat us differently. They start to look at us as if we're the troublemaker for things that happen to us.
Yeah,
that is why I think a lot of blacks, especially professional blacks, because I've been in settings where...
Well, you can't be more professional than who you are. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't sit next to me and we be the same and you're better than me or more professional. Just because I achieved more, I don't look at anybody else.
You shouldn't.
In any other kind of way.
You shouldn't. And that's
that's always been me. I'm not, because again, back to the military, we're all the same. Because, when you're in a unit, it may have a hierarchy, but we're still all the same.
Yeah, and in the military, all the ranks are the same. You may have different jobs, but the ranks are the same. Like a corporal in the Marine Corps to an E4 in the Army and so on. We're the same. You may have a different job. So I totally get it. And I understand. And it's just sad to see that it's 2020 and we have to deal with these things. And I don't see any signs of it slowing down.
No, it's definitely going,
What do you think it'll take for that to change? Because I feel as
leadership.
I feel as blacks, we can't speak out against it, and if we do, we better be quiet, because I get in trouble a lot. Even just for saying Black Lives Matter, or for saying everyone is equal, or for saying you shouldn't treat this person this way. And I can say it for other people. If I say it, don't bully kids. People
you know what it is? Once you have your own, you don't care what anybody else is saying per se. Although I do care. And there's two halves to that. I'm not one to say that I don't care how somebody thinks about me, because I do. Mm-hmm. Because that people behind you are representing some people behind you, because they're putting you in front. So you want to give the best light. You're representing kids and people that, younger people that are influenced off what you do, say, or the like.
And as a business,
so you can't tell someone that you don't care. I don't care what they write. I don't care what they say. You do care. But part of it is building a situation in which you get to a point where you're not relied, or what's happening doesn't rely on your well-being. Mm-hmm. So then you can say what you need to say. You could do what you need to do, and you could lead. It goes back to the Black Wall Street mentality.
Do for self.
You do for self, but not do for selfishness. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with our society or my society. You take and do for self wrong. It's not do for self for just me. Not self. That's selfishness. They dropping off the selfish part. By us. Again, if we, as a collective, we have a problem with giving someone the lead.
Who's we? When you say
I think that
are we talking about we as in black people?
I think we as in black people have a problem with giving someone the lead, because once that person has the lead, then they have power, and then that person messes up the power, and then we don't want someone to lead. It's okay if someone else leads. That's not in your circle. But if someone in your circle leads because you're so close to them, you think that you should be that one.
Mm-hmm. That crab in the barrel mentality you talked about. Well, my brother, I feel like we can talk forever. I feel like we can talk forever. And is there anything you feel like you want to cover that we haven't covered?
No, I mean, again, the only thing I want to cover is the fact that, listen, I have a book out. I think it's for anyone that's actually transitioning out of the military, you should get. 2, I think that if you're a young guy with no guidance and no place to, I don't say no place to go. I wouldn't say it like that. Just with no guidance, please give the military, not give it a try, but give it a thought. Yeah. Because it's not bad.
Yeah. Normally I ask people, like, when you're getting out the military, like, what is advice you would give to somebody who is leaving the military? But for you, I feel like I want to ask you, what is your advice for somebody who wants to leave the military? What is the advice for somebody who wants to go into fashion? And what is the advice for somebody who wants to go into business? Obviously, you can pick up your book as well.
No. And I would answer this. The business part is, it's not about even fashion. It's about someone that wants to go into business, because it's the fashion business. Mm-hmm. It's the music business. It's the what else? The TV business, communication business. So it doesn't matter what part of it, what the first part of it is. It's always going to be about business.
'Cause you want to make
and conducting business on the right level and doing things the right way.
What is one, I feel like I can talk to you forever, although we got to wrap up, but what is one business move you wish you had made differently?
There's no business move I wish I didn't make any. I don't believe in faults. I don't believe in a problem, because the problem to me is a solution. I think of the solution part. I don't think of the problem part. Because the things, for instance, and here's the way to end this. Because I wasn't good in school, is because I went to the military. So I thought because I wasn't good at school was a problem. It was a solution for me to go to the military. I'm in the military. Oh my God, that's a problem. Is that a problem? No, it's not a problem. That's a solution. So the solution was for me to home in on my vast knowledge of the world to transition that when I come back home to fashion.
Great way to put it. Great way to put it. You looked at it, if I may summarize, you were looking at it, maybe school may not be the thing that I can focus on right now, but I need a solution, I need to make up for that. So I'm going to go in the military to use that to serve my country, and also as a stepping stone to get into business, and it worked out perfectly.
Right.
My brother. J. Alexander Martin, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
As you know, we created the show to sit down with military veterans to talk about their lives before the service, during the service, and after the service. And we sat down with the co-founder of FUBU, one of the biggest fashion brands ever, to talk about how he got started, how his time in the military, and also the books that he has out now. If there is anything out there that you feel I should have asked that I didn't get to ask, please put it in the comment section. Follow us on social media. And we can also follow you on social media, right?
Yeah, J. Alexander Martin on LinkedIn. Twitter is J. Alexander, JALEXANDERM. And LinkedIn, I said LinkedIn. And Instagram is A Fashion Mind, the letter A Fashion MIND.
And I'm sure they could just Google your name.
Or you can just go JAlexanderMartin.com, and you go on my website. You can go up to the top, click, and go onto my
and everything else to come. And my brother, again, thank you so much,
Thanks
man.
For having
Coming
me.
From Queens and the 90s, hip hop, FUBU,
yeah, we
and all of that.
We covered a lot.
Man,
We covered a
my
lot.
man.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.